Look, going in from Friday into today, we knew the stock market was going to take a hit. We saw what Fed Powell said about what was happening with rates, how they were not going to be cutting rates until something basically breaks in the market. And we saw what Trump is doing, furthering the tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs are going to start April 2nd. There's been nothing really secure about that, right? That's going to benefit the market in the short term, at least. And so we knew what was going to take place. The writing was on the wall. All we really knew from Friday, even more so from the Fed, was the big concerns out there. Now you look at the S&P, you look at SPY, and you're down 15 points on the day, 2.6%. That was big. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not going to lie. But if you go over to Twitter, again, I posted a picture that you actually ended up dropping more, but you were down 3.75% on the NASDAQ. You actually ended up dropping down below 10 to 20, 4.2% on the downside for the NASDAQ. Crazy numbers. Almost 1,000 points of downside on the NASDAQ alone. So today we have a lot to really talk about and some of the really concerning things. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about really is what's happening with the market. And I'm going to go more into the longer viewpoints of the opportunity that is inherently there. Like right now, you may not see it. You may just be getting the spanking. You may just be getting the ass whooping. But ultimately right now, this is that opportunity. But again, the concerning part right now, the downside, not ideal, right? Increasing volume towards the downside. We've talked a lot about this. When you're pushing all-time highs, again, volume was pretty low. And you don't need high volume to get continuation in a direction. You don't need it, okay? Where you look for volume is on breakouts or reversals. And this has been a breakout to the downside, no matter how you like to put it or talk about it, right? So we have to discuss that specifically because today you had a big break of a massive level. And again, you go into SPY and you get a little bit more answers as to what's happening there. And we talked about this, SPY breaking below your 200 SMA. Now it held it on Friday, but we knew based off of ES and the NASDAQ that this was a major concern and that buyers really weren't stepping in. Now we go into our levels here also. Again, you're coming back down to the bottom of that range right there, around 560, and then 565 was the top line of that support. And we kind of just ended the day just right there overall. We came down to our next level of 555 as well. Definitely concerning. Now, if we start breaking below these levels, it's very important to understand where our next big levels come into play on SPY, on ES, and futures, which we'll talk more about. But I mean, I have us dropping closer to 545. 540, and we'll go more in detail about what really takes place. But you can see there was not a lot of liquidity there. Okay, then you go into NASDAQ and we look at the levels that are established there as well. Again, very, very, very concerning. Okay, so when we look at the levels that are established, there's a lot going on here, but you can see you're coming back into that 18.7 or that 19.5 level we talked about. Now, another big thing that I do want to mention is if you guys are, if you're interested in trading with us, what we're doing every single day, the Discord link is down below. But again, and we also just added our indicators. So if you see all the indicators on my screen, we actually have a new custom indicator. When you join premium access, you just turn it on and it gives you every indicator that we have. And you can go actually in there as well and update that for yourself, which ones you want to have, which ones you want to turn off. But again, that's there as well. But what I want to really go over is the levels that we were really watching into today. Now, again, every morning we go over futures, like I say. And again, what we look at so far in the pre-market, we're not able to get any strength. If we reject at 19.95, looking for 19.808, and then a possible big breakdown to 19.5. I had a level marked below that. I just didn't think we'd get that big of a drop on NASDAQ just in one sitting. We ended up dropping down to 19.25, basically on that level, which you can see where that level stems from as well. There's a little SR flip there as well. But after that, I have us dropping down towards 18.7, which in my opinion would be a massive level. Going into Qs, that 18.7 level would also probably be around this March high near 447, 450 overall. So also you could see Qs most likely coming down to that range as well. Now, the big thing that I want to talk about is what's happening because we've seen a lot of downside in the past few days. Like, I won't deny that. I've been very bearish. I've been looking for downside, and I'm going to go over more stocks that I'm liking for opportunity here. But I do think it's likely we start to see, and we do see a bounce. We see something. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to bounce tomorrow, and I'm not saying that I'm buying calls like going into tomorrow. I'm not holding any calls overnight. There's no reason to get crazy there. But I mean, over the past, what is it? Like, let's just quickly look. Going back to February 21st, today is the 10th. What is that? Around 14, no, it's around give or take 17, 18 days, right? Again, Just look at how big of a drop you've got from 540 all the way down to 470. 70 points of downside on QQQ. On the NASDAQ, again, it's been even uglier, 22,000, 22.3, which was basically in your all-time highs, down over 2,000 points here. Almost down, really down 3,000 points, right? If you look at lows in the day. Monster dip, right? This is one of our biggest drops that we've had since 2022, okay? So saying that, I do want to express what I'm saying by buying the dip, and I think that people are misinterpreting this, right? We are disassociating what this means. When people talk about buying the dip, what is the difference between buying the dip on a option versus buying the dip on a stock? And you have to understand, this is what you're doing when you're really buying the dip. You're buying stock for the long haul. You understand that there's minimal risk because you're buying shares and you're not leveraging or anything like that. The more you dip, the better you're sitting, right? You want to keep buying the dip. That's the goal. And again, I use this analogy for a friend literally 2 days ago. He asked me, he's like, hey, I want to start buying some stocks. What should I do? I have some money. I said, look, this is what I would do for myself if I was doing anything and I just had to throw money in the market. I would get whatever my lump sum is. I would say, how often do I want to buy? And if I'm going to buy once a week, every Monday, either every Wednesday, maybe 2 times a week, Monday, then Friday, whatever it may be, right? I'm going to do a specific amount each single session, and then I'll load it into my names that I want to buy, and it's equally buying them or buying it at whatever percentage that I want, maybe 10% in NVIDIA, 5% in Microsoft, whatever it may be, right? That's what you do. And when you're looking at this dip, that's how you buy a dip. You just buy. You don't look at it. You don't think about it. You forget about it. You buy it. You come back to it later when the market's looking better, right? And you buy names that you like. You buy names that you trust. You don't get crazy. You don't get super risky. That's what you do. Now, what I see people talking about are buying options on the dip. Well, what do you do with buying options? Where's the opportunity there? Because again, over the past year, this is what you've seen. This has been, the rinse and repeat strategy. It's been very simple. You go, you zoom out, and you look, you buy at the 100-day, you buy at the 200-day, and you print money over the next 2 weeks. Well, like we've been saying on the channel, you haven't had a real reason to get monster dips. You have a great reason to dip on the market right now. And so the NASDAQ is just dropping. And now everyone's like, well, my strategy, it's not working. It worked 4 times the past 2 years, and I printed money. Twitter Furu Johnny said that this was foolproof, right? Well, spoiler alert, he didn't understand that tariffs, interest rates at highs, and Donald Trump going crazy over the past few weeks has been detrimental, right? When in regards to tariffs and all these things that are happening behind the scenes, not good for the market in the short term. Now, maybe it gets the Fed to where they have to start cutting rates again. We'll talk about that going towards the summer, but I think right now you're in this situation right now, okay? So when you go back to what's happening on options, which I think most people want to know, and again, if you're looking at, for me, for instance, I am not trading any upside options. I'm not buying calls yet, right? Everything in this Discord that we're looking at, these are all the wins. They're pretty much downside. Donnie, I don't know why the hell he bought calls, but he did. But everything else is all puts. It's all downside. Why? Because we are trading in the trend of the market. Options, you have to understand, unless you are buying far dated leaps, and I'm going to go into that because leaps are right there in the middle, you really want to trade with the trend. Now, the other part of this, of when's the time to buy the leaps? How you talk about leaps all the time. When's the time to buy them? And I'll answer that. When you start to see signs of a reversal. And now I'm going to say right now, this is the first time in probably the last 2 years that you've seen signs of the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 looking to reverse for the downside. Okay? Now, when you see that happening, you have to pivot. You have to stop what you're doing and say, okay, this looks bad. Now, why does this look bad on the NASDAQ? Well, let's explain a little bit more here. Let's really dive deep into what's happening here. The NASDAQ, possibly a double top. I would argue it's a double top here. 22.4, 22.35, give or take. And then you break that neckline at the bottom right there and you're breaking down. That's concerning. You're officially breaking. Now, if you start breaking below, honestly, you break below, man, I don't even want to say the words because it's terrifying. Let's unadjust it real quick. Yeah, you start breaking below 17.5 on the NASDAQ and, or 18,000 here. I mean, you've made a lower low at that point. Now we have some room till we get there, but it's important to understand if we start breaking that level, this is going to get bad, right? And that's the question of, is things really taking that turn? Now, in order to get bullish here, to really like start looking for those leaps, like I said, to reverse course back to the upside, I want to see us back above the 200 SMA. Now, a good rule of thumb for long-term investing in a stock, if a stock is above its 200 daily moving average, it's traditionally bullish. That's a very simple rule everyone here can agree on. If you're above it, you're bullish. Now, quickly giving you an example, right? Let's look at Apple, one of the best stocks in the market. Above its 200 SMA, it's been a great, phenomenal buy. Below its 200 SMA, it was a pretty shitty buy, right? It just was, right? Shitty action. You get back above it, you start moving up. You break below it back here, 2022, pretty trash, not a great trading session. You get above it here, you mount, you go bananas. Again, so the idea here is once you start remounting that 200 SMA on equity, what's happening on futures, etc., then leaps become a better opportunity, because again, what you're looking, this is a high time frame, is you want to have time on that contract so you can capture that big move that you expect. The big move that you expect. Apple breaking below its 200 right now, kind of concerning, right? So again, you can go retest this, and I'm not just picking one name. We'll use Tesla, what name that's getting destroyed right now, right? So Tesla is another good example. Above its 200 SMA, goes berserk. You start kind of holding, get below, you hold right here. This is a little bit of a like choppier area, an example, but you can see the pretty bad action. Get back above, you do well, get below, do bad, till you remount. Can't really remount, you drop back down, which is the helpful part of using the NASDAQ. But again, some of your charts won't be as clean, right? That's why I'm looking at futures for a broad viewpoint of the market. Now, Tesla, I will say, when you get above your 200, good things usually happen. You get below it, like we mentioned in the past few weeks, and been shorting it. Well, guess what? Tesla puts have been printing. Who would have thought? The trend flipped when you got below your 200 daily moving average, right? And it goes on and on for equity after equity after equity after equity. NVIDIA, another great example, right? So you guys can see what's happening there, the opportunity, etc., right? And NVIDIA was a great example back in 2023 of being one of the best buying opportunities above the 200 SMA. So going back into that, where I look to buy leaps, or where I look to open up my risk in options, because again, even though I'm buying 2 years out, I have to understand that buying options and buying leaps increase my risk overall. A good way of thinking about buying leaps in the market is leveraging your money, right? Leveraging shares in a way. So instead of buying $10,000 worth of options or stock on Apple, right? And so I get a 10% move on Apple, I'll make $1,000, right? Simple math. Well, I can, in theory, but put $3,000 into Apple leaps, right? At $100. And if it moves 10% of the stock, I'll probably make 30% on my options, for instance, right? Depending on where the strikes are, you're getting a delta of around 80, what you're looking for there. You'll make a good amount of money there. So it'll move like leveraged stock, but except I'm putting less money there. So that's my viewpoint of what I'm doing. So I want to buy at a decent position to where I know the market is in a better position to bounce, right? I don't need to time the bottom. I don't need to time the top. If I'm trying to do any of that, I'm just averaging into shares, because that requires, like we said, basically no risk. The risk is very minimal, just what you're buying in. Whereas with my options, there's an expiration, they can lose value, things along those lines. Now, granted, they're leaps, so they lose value a lot slower, but that's how we're looking at this. So when I'm talking about buying dips, I'm not talking about options here. When I'm trading options, it is solely for the fact of trading the trend in the direction that we're in. Okay? When I'm talking about buying leaps, I want to wait for confirmation, and that's the confirmation that I'm waiting for. So that's very important. Now we're going to get to the juicy stuff, options I'm looking at now, stocks and big opportunities going into tomorrow and the rest of the week. Now, one of the biggest opportunities we talked about was Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin was the biggest, baddest opportunity, and you are breaking down. In my opinion, Bitcoin is going towards give or take 74K. I mentioned MicroStrategy here over the weekend. I said below 280. It's a short down to the 200 SMA. Congratulations, you hit it today. You did open up at like 264. You bounced back up and went back down. Trash overall name. Gross. And the icing on the cake here is Michael Saylor says they're doing another offering to buy more Bitcoin. Hopefully he doesn't buy Bitcoin at the top again. I don't know. This guy is, it seems, I don't know. But MicroStrategy is probably the most at-risk company that I've seen as of yet. So do what you want to do there. NVIDIA, you came to a massive level, right? We talked about in the after hours, you're getting smacked again. Okay. In the after hours, you can see here, you're at 105.5, but we'll see tomorrow at open. We don't want to jump the gun here. But again, you came into a massive level near 106, 107 we talked about, right down here. Now I'll say you start dipping below this, been to 105. I'm looking for $100 to $97. We found all that support previously. This is one of your first very big buy zones for NVIDIA, in my opinion. I think NVIDIA, and this is my viewpoint long term, if I'm buying shares, I don't care that I welcome a dip. You know, in 2022, go talk to anyone that bought shares, bought leaps, did anything. They made a lot of money. They did very well for themselves. Well, this is where you get your big opportunities on dips like this. I'm not telling you you're going to make money tomorrow. I'm not telling you anything like that. But this is where your opportunity lies. Now, again, I'm not really looking to short NVIDIA here, but below 106, you're probably working towards I'd be looking for lows around 101 minimum. So be careful, but that's where you're at right now. Now, on the downside play here, the biggest opportunity when it comes to semiconductors, because semiconductors are at risk, is AVGO. AVGO had a great earnings. It bounced off its 200, went up, and then it dropped back down. And I said back below 185, this thing it's at risk. It is at risk no matter how you want to put it. Below 185, this is bad. And you're holding below 185 and you get below 180, this thing it's probably going to get hit. I would have to assume you start to see some downside. You have a daily gap down here, down near 172. I mean, this is a nasty looking chart. If sellers really start to get effective and start to step in here, I'd be looking as well. If it starts to get really bad towards 145, these are just levels I'm marking out. But again, you definitely need to be having AVG on your chart because under that 200 daily moving average is a big shorting opportunity. Now, I want to go back to MicroStrategy here. One of the bigger opportunities we mentioned, sorry, the side of my nose is killing me. Oh my God, itching. So one of the big things I'm looking at here is getting back below 200. I'd be looking towards 200, your previous all-time high here. First target would be right about there, around basically 200 flat. That's what I'd be looking at, guys. I'll be totally honest with you. Next level around right there, 226. So again, MicroStrategy weakness seems very logical. Seems like that will be taking effect very soon. Another horror story here has been Google. Levels that have not changed at all. Okay, not at all. So Google came back to its 200 and it just gapped straight down. And this is the concern. Like this is what you're seeing now potentially happening on SPY is you get below your 200 SMA, you break down, you retest, and then you die. Because sellers get active under the 200. It's one of the things we know in the market. So again, you know, everyone was saying buy Google, buy Amazon. We'll talk about Amazon in a second also. But like, this is the concern is you're buying before there's buying confirmation, before the market has signaled that they're getting involved with it. You know, one thing that I always say is you don't need to be the first person into the market. You don't need to be the first person long, right? You don't win anything. You don't get anything. So when I'm looking at this, I just sit back and I'm like, man, buying options here for the upside at least makes zero sense. Dumb trade, not logical, not the play, right? Because nothing's pointing us back to the upside just yet. So again, Google below 164, again looking for more pain towards 160, and then ideally back down towards 151, 154. I believe 151 is your 2021 all-time high, right about there. Basically 150, 160. So again, major pain if we get back below 164. It's a crucial level. Tesla, again, disgusting. Like you're filling every gap out there. Like congratulations. Again, another big thing we said here, below the 200 SMA. Again, it is crazy that we were not seeing people talk about these things. These are elementary rules of what you look for finding value or finding weakness in the market. Okay. And again, on this channel, my goal is to not say I am right, I told you so, or anything like that. It's to provide opportunity, hopefully, and just demonstrate what I'm looking for and relay my thoughts to you. So when I look at Tesla and I see it below the 200 daily moving average, and I look and I see 5 gaps to the downside, I'm like, why on earth would this be a buying opportunity? Or why would this be an option opportunity is a better way of putting it, right? Why would I not be looking for downside into the gaps, right? Why in the world would I not be looking for that? And you went down $41 of downside, and you're down $5 to get $4 in the after hours. I mean, what are we talking? Like, what are we looking at, right? Who are these people telling us to buy? like to buy options, especially, right? Buying shares, I could understand. Buy shares, forget whatever. But why? Okay. Very important to understand what we're looking at and what's really happening out there. Discord, Reddit, they've been asking me a lot about Reddit. We talked about the push down to the 200 SMA. Beautiful. Reddit, I mean, this is a crazy ass chart. You're looking for a gap fill now. $80, $83, $84. And you're going to notice these charts are all around the market. And that's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense why people are talking about the bottom is in. This is setting up just like we talked about, right? You're seeing that all over Twitter. Man, if you only knew. People that are trying to gatekeep and keep secrets and the secret formula in the market and that the secret setup is happening and you better just wait for it, right? Traditionally have no idea what they're talking about and are just trying to push something down your throats to sell you. Now, I'm guilty. I have a Discord where I talk all day. But I mean, I'm just saying from a logical viewpoint, if someone wanted to talk to you all day about a specific subject that you have knowledge in, you'd probably charge as well. So again, if you want to talk to me all day, talk in Discord, then like obviously you're going to pay. But like I provide free content on YouTube, on Twitter, and there's no point in me gatekeeping, right? If you want to get more information, it's worth it in my opinion. So do what you want. But again, it's astonishing what I'm seeing. If I have to see one more of these, I don't know what it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. People saying exactly what I thought. I'm like, buddy, you were just telling me to buy. You were just telling me to buy options. YOLO. Like, what are we talking about? The other point of this too is you look at these names like Reddit and everyone's like, man, should I buy up here at highs, up highs? I mean, we talked about supports and you just did not bounce at support, right? You bounced at your first support at 150 and then you died. But like, why are we not talking about buying shares here? Like from this point, just back into highs on Reddit, that's a double up opportunity. So people that are getting like concerned of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to buy this or that. I'm like, why are we pushing options? Why not just buy some long-term viewpoint shares? If that's really what you want, right? So again, what we're looking at, what we're watching, biggest opportunities for me right now, AVGO on the downside. I'm telling you below 200 SMA, it looks really bad. Really bad. MicroStrategy below 200 SMA, bad. Painful. Really bad. Tesla looks pretty bad, but I'm not going to be shorting it from here. Doesn't make any sense here. Nvidia down towards 100. But you're kind of like some of these names, I'm not gonna lie, like I don't really see a lot. Like I see some pretty big supports coming up. I'd be watching Meta down towards 570. That'd be another big name I'd be watching as well. But overall, that's what I'm watching on the market, guys. If you guys want to get more content, you guys want to see more stuff, I recommend following on Twitter. Post there every day. Again, it's the best place for us to have dialogue. So again, have a good one, traders. I appreciate you. Sorry for the bit of a rant today. Maybe not the video you wanted. It's the video you got. See you next time.